By the time my sister got engaged, I had already learned how to disappear cleanly. That's not a metaphor, it's a real skill. You learn it when asking for help turns into criticism about your attitude, when emergencies get reframed as your own fault, when attention is rationed and handed out only to whoever performs best. You learn to shrink your needs first smaller, then quieter until they're invisible. My sister never had to learn that. Her life unfolded in front of an audience. The wedding announcement arrived in a group email, venue photos attached, dates finalized, the budget mentioned casually, the way someone mentions the weather, $100,000. Not as a brag, just as a fact, as if that number was simply the price of love. I read it on my phone while sitting in a hospital waiting room. 3 months earlier, I'd been in a car accident that didn't make headlines and didn't change any family plans. I broke my leg into places. I lost my job during recovery. My landlord gave me 30 days and a look that said he already moved on. I told my parents carefully, briefly, using the emotional restraint you learn when intensity is punished. My mother said, "That's unfortunate." My father asked if I'd looked into disability. They didn't visit. They didn't send money. They didn't call again. I survived the unglamorous way people usually do. Friends rotated couches. At church I didn't attend paid 2 months of rent. A social worker helped me fill out forms I didn't know existed. I learned which grocery stores marked down produce at night and which ones let you split payments without making you feel small. I didn't tell my parents any of that. There was no reason to. Silence had already been agreed upon. So when the wedding details kept coming, I wasn't angry. I felt confirmed the distance didn't start with a fight. It hardened slowly, like calcium. I stopped updating them, they stopped asking. Holidays passed without acknowledgement. My sister and I exchanged the occasional message photos of centerpieces, dress fittings, polite check-ins. I responded with thumbs up emojis and the practiced neutrality of someone who understands their role. The wedding happened by all accounts. It was beautiful. There were speeches, there were tears. There was a video montage of childhood moments I recognized, but was never central to. I watched it later alone on a cracked screen, 2 years after the accident. And why parents showed up at my door, I barely recognized them. They looked smaller, as if gravity had finally caught up. My father leaned heavily on the railing. My mother's hair had turned completely gray. They stood there with the posture of people who had practiced humility and were hoping it would be enough. They didn't mention the wedding. They didn't mention the accident. They said my father's health was failing. They said money was tight. They said they needed help just for a little while. I let them talk. I noticed how they avoided details, how they framed their need as temporary and my responsibility as inherited, how they never asked how I was doing. Something pulled at me, compassion, maybe, or habit. The old conditioning that said relief was earned through compliance. I asked one question. "What are you actually asking me to do?" They looked at each other. My mother said, carefully, that I could handle the payments, maybe co-sign. "You're good with paperwork." I nodded, not in agreement, just acknowledgement. I told them I needed time to think. I didn't invite them inside. That night, I opened a folder on my laptop I hadn't touched in years. It held my discharge papers, denial letters, notes from social workers, and a record of every unanswered message I'd sent during those months. Not to use against them, just to remember clearly. I realized I had been preparing without knowing it. What came next wasn't dramatic, no shouting, no ultimatums. It involved a lawyer I'd already worked with while rebuilding my credit and my life. It involved boundaries written in language that didn't bend. I invited my parents to a meeting, neutral location, mediator present, no surprises. They arrived hopeful, which hurt more than anger would have. The mediator explained the structure before I spoke. Any financial help would be limited, conditional, and managed through a trust for specific needs. No co-signing, no open-ended support, no rewriting the past as a misunderstanding. My parents objected softly at first, then with confusion, then with the familiar sharpness that hadn't worked in years. I didn't argue. The structure spoke for me. The mediator slid a document across the table. It listed the timeline of my accident, my requests, and the responses I received. It wasn't an accusation. It was a record. Authority entered the room quietly. My mother cried. My father went still. I offered what I could offer safely: help without access, care without control, support without surrender. They refused. They left angry, then embarrassed, then silent. Afterward, I sat in my car, waiting for the emptiness I expected to feel. It never came. Instead, there was a deep, steady exhaustion, the kind that comes after a long illness when you finally stop fighting the wrong battle. I still think about them. I still wish circumstances had made them different. I still follow my sister's milestones from a distance, careful and kind. But I no longer confuse closeness with care. The final move they never saw coming wasn't revenge, it was readiness.